Hello and welcome to another video on the Grimwood Watch Modern channel, and today I have got my hands on the new Charmaine Design J Series mechanical watch. Now this is a watch that's actually inspired by Japanese Zen gardens. I think it's Sensui, and do you know what? It's a watch that you'd look at and just think you've never seen anything like that before. And when I initially saw this and got approached by Charmaine to kind of review one of their prototypes, which this is, it hasn't actually been released yet, this is on Kickstarter at this moment in time, I jumped at the chance to review it. And do you know what? The more I've worn this, the more I actually weirdly like it. It is such a unique looking watch. So without further ado, let's just dive straight into the review. So let's start off with the specifications first. So we've got a case diameter of 44mm, lug to lug of 38mm, thickness of 10.8mm and lug width of 20mm. In the back of this we've got a Mi Auto 8N24 movement, which is beating at 21,600 beats per hour. We also have a power reserve of 42 hours. It is winding, but we don't get hacking on this movement. Now we also have a stainless steel case. We've got 30 meters of water resistance. It also comes on a selection of straps. The one I've got it on this moment in time is the shark mesh strap, and we also get a rubber strap in the kit as well, which I will show you later. We've got mineral glass bottom and top, as you can see, because we've got a display case back in there as well. Weight wise, just the watch itself is 52 grams. On the silicone strap it's 72 grams, and on the bracelet I've got it on here, it's just shy of 100 grams at 97. So with all those specifications out the way, let's have a closer look at this piece. So, the first question that I guess many people are going to be screaming at the screen is, how do you read this watch? Well, to be honest, it is pretty self-explanatory once you get used to it. Now, in the centre is actually the hour hand on a clear disc with this obviously red short pointer hand, which is the hour hand. On the big long one here with the red pointer on, that's the minute hand, the red pointer side being the actual minute readout, and then the one that goes across the watch is your seconds hand. You can read whichever side you want really, but that is plain as day. So at this moment in time it's around about 2-3 minutes past 9, and it's as easy as that. Once you get used to it as well, it isn't that hard to tell the time at a quick glance. Don't get me wrong, in certain lengths you have to kind of look at it for a bit longer, but all in all, it's not too hard to do. So let's start off with the dial, and along with the hands, this has got to be one of the most unique parts of this watch, and the whole theme of Zen Gardens just runs through and through with this, with all these lovely kind of lines going from the centre of the dial to the outermost part of the dial. Now in the centre we obviously have a see-through section which has got the hour hand actually printed on, as you can see there by the little red line, and as you go further out each section gets more opaque until you get to this solid section on the outermost part of the dial. And each one of these lines, which there is 120 of, are actually spaced 0.3mm apart all the way around the dial, and it makes such a lovely kind of effect to look at, especially with the actual full width of the dial hands ticking away around the watch. At the end of the day, this watch is a bit of kinetic art. That's the way I see it in my eyes. And like I say, it doesn't have numerals, yes, so reading the time in certain lights can be a bit of a chore. I'm not going to lie. Most lights it's alright, but if you catch it in some, you can't read it. I'm not going to deny that, but it looks absolutely stunning. The hands themselves, yet again, is another kind of point which is very unique. In the centre, the hour hand is actually printed on basically a clear disc, as you can see, so it looks like it's floating around the skeleton part of the dial. We then come to the minute hand, and because it's actually stretched the full width of the dial, one side has actually got that lovely fleck of red on it. They actually point you in the direction you have to read the time off. And then we've got the minute hand. Now the minute hand to me is the thing that sets this watch off, because it just makes the pattern kind of move. I'm not going to say an optical illusion, but it's a very pleasing pattern that it represents, and every time you look at it that pattern changes. And the whole theme of Zen Gardens and the way this watch looks, And don't get me wrong, I am not an expert in Zen Gardens. I've just had a quick look once I actually managed to get my hands on this watch, and do you know what? I think it actually pulls off the philosophy quite well. And if you actually dig deeper into Zen Gardens and then dig deeper into the design of this, every part of this watch is representing part of what the whole kind of idea of Zen Gardens is. Moving up from the dial in the hands, we've got a nice bit of flat crystal on here. This, at this moment in time, is mineral. However, if they do reach a certain point on their Kickstarter campaign, which I think is $100,000, they will upgrade this to a nice bit of flat sapphire. And sapphire crystal at the end of the day is a lovely upgrade to have on any watch, especially when you've got this size of sapphire on a watch. Any scratches on it will be very noticeable, so it would be nice to see an upgrade of sapphire on this lovely piece. We then move out to the case. Now the case itself is 316 stainless steel. As you can see, it's not one solid part, it's actually made up of three. We've got the case back, the main body, and this segment around the top, which, to be honest, in a lot of watches you would class as like the bezel kind of section, but in this it's obviously solid. And it's very it's a cylinder, and that's what it is. You've got some shaping on the underneath to actually make it fit to your wrist quite comfortably, but it is a very kind of stark and solid shape. And the actual brushing, and even though this is a prototype, which I am going to stress throughout this video, the finishing on it is superb. We've got the Jarmain design written on one side, which I know to a lot of people that might be a bit of a turn off, because I know a lot of people hate having engravings in the side of the watches, but in my mind, if you're a designer and it's a very unique design, why not shout it and put your name on the side of the watch? I would do as well. We have a crown up here at the 3 o'clock. Now the crown itself personally is one of the down points, I think, because it is very fiddly to use. You don't have much to grip onto. Don't get me wrong, it's not too bad, but being used to divers in my collection, that is a very fiddly crown. However, the action of it is very good. It feels quite solid. There's no slack, there's no slop, and there's a lot of positive resistance there as well, which kind of just adds to the whole build quality of the watch. If we turn it upside down, we have a lovely display case back showing that Mi-auto movement, as we can see. And like the majority of Mi-auto movements, this is a unidirectional wind, so if you give it a flick, it will spin forever and ever in a lot of circumstances. And most times when I've got watches with these Mi-auto type movements in, they are, to all intents and purposes, a bit loud on the wrist, especially when you flick it a certain way. You will hear that rotor kind of spinning and feel it on the wrist. In all honesty, I don't know if this is because it's a solid bit of metal all the way around the outside. I don't feel it too much on this watch. You do feel it, but it's not at all noticeable. And the movement itself, even though it's not decorated, in my mind does show a bit of nice raw engineering, and I think it actually looks pretty in its own right. We do have some information around the outside, as we can see there, like a waterproof rating, which 3 atmospheres is pretty standard for a lot of watches out there on the market at this moment in time, but it does actually have a screw down case back, which is nice. I absolutely hate press fit case backs, and it is nice to see a watch that, to be honest, in all intents and purposes, at 3 atmospheres, you could have put a press fit on here, but they haven't, so that is a very nice touch. The other thing I'm going to touch on as well is both straps do come with these quick releases, which, to be honest, all Jarmain design watches that I have seen do come with it, so you can swap between this strap and the optional rubber strap very, very quickly and very, very efficiently, which is nice. So you can change it from like a nice kind of dressier watch to a sports watch quite quickly without any effort of using tools, which is always a breeze, especially to a lot of people that are just starting off. So overall, I do actually like the design of this watch. It is, don't get me wrong, a very Marmite watch, but at the end of the day, it does look quite cool. So with all that out of the way, let's move on and have a look at the straps and see how it wears on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. And here we are with a loom shot, and yeah, it doesn't have any loom, so this watch in the dark is pretty much useless. So let's just quickly move on. So looking at the bracelet first, this is obviously in a shark mesh design, and you know what? It suits this watch down to the ground. It is very, very comfortable. comfortable. It's also very easy to adjust and basically has multiple adjustments, as you can see here on the back. Very fine adjustability on it, so you can get it to sit pretty much exactly the way you want on your wrist, and it's got this very nice kind of clasp that also sits over the top of the actual retainer to make sure it is fully in place. So with the bracelet looked at, let's quickly swap it over and have a look at the rubber strap. And here is the rubber strap. Now the rubber strap is actually designed to look pretty much the same as the lines that you would see in a Zen garden, and do you know what? Jarmain Design have pulled this off very, very well, replicating the actual cylindrical lines that you would get around an obstacle in a garden, such as these retainer holes. They've also done a nice sweeping design close to the watch on the bottom end of the strap, and they've even encompassed the design around the Jarmain Design logo. And do you know what? It looks spectacular and fits very well with the design of the watch. It also wears very, very comfortably, which you will see in the wrist shot. And here is the Jarmain J design on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, and do you know what? It wears quite well, and it wears like no other watch, and I think the reason for that is because it actually has a smaller lug to lug than case diameter, so the actual bracelet and strap sit further in than the actual watch suggests, and it makes it very, very comfortable. The bracelet itself is comfortable, and because the actual adjustment on it is basically it basically grips onto anywhere on the bracelet, you can set it to the precise kind of width of your wrist, which is very, very nice indeed. And overall it is a very nice watch to wear, and this is it on the actual bracelet. If you give us 2 seconds, I'll swap it over to the rubber. And here is the Jarmain on the rubber strap, and if you're looking for a bit more of a sporty look, this is what you would go for. It's also very supple, very soft, so it actually wears remarkably well as well. Personally, I would put it on the actual bracelet every time because I think it looks slightly better, but the rubber strap is very nice indeed. The other nice little feature I like with Jarmain rubber straps is there is actually a little kind of spot on them which sits within the actual holes for your clasp, which means you aren't going to get any movement on those retainers whatsoever. So with the wrist shots out the way, let's move on. So before I get onto my final conclusions, I'm just going to quickly cover the Kickstarter campaign. Now it's getting released on the 7th of July for people to back it, and I can guarantee now, once I've recorded everything and done all the editing, I'm going to be late to the party with this, and this watch will already be up on Kickstarter for people to back. Now the super early bird offer for this watch is $369, which in all honesty, for a watch with such an original design and such good build quality, I think that is a killer price. However, by the time my video is up, no doubt all of them will have gone. However, there is an early bird offer of $399, which I'm going to be saying is going to be more likely to be up while I release this video, and even at just shy of $400, I think this is a very good kind of price point for this watch. And Kickstarter, as always, the sooner you get the backing money in, the better value for money you will get for the watch at the end of the day. And like I say, for a watch that is just such an original design and, in all honesty, a bit of kinetic art for your wrist, I dare say it is a very good thing to back. Now, they are going to be released, from looking at the Kickstarter campaign, around about October. However, with all the things that are happening in the world at this moment in time, I'm guessing that could slip or whatever, so I wouldn't hold that as being 100% in stone. However, the way things are, that's not the company's fault, it's not anybody's fault, it's just the way the world is at this moment in time. So with all that covered, let's move on. So, my final thoughts on the Jarmain Design J series. Well, in all honesty, when I first looked at this watch on the internet, I wasn't sold. I don't know why, it just looked a bit out there from the pictures. However, once I got my hands on it, once I started wearing it and looking at it, do you know what? It just all came together. This is a spectacular watch. It's a bit of kinetic art for your wrist at the end of the day. But it's not just art, it doesn't just look good, it also wears spectacularly well as well. Because of that very short lug to lug of 38mm, it fits on the majority of small wrists such as myself, but because you've got the case diameter of 44mm, it also caters for the slightly bigger wristed amongst you as well, in my mind. So, with that in mind, would you get one of these J series watches? Is it up your street, or is it just a bit too out there and you would go for the more traditional looking mechanical watch like these two either side of it? Please put in the comments below. If you have liked this video, please press the like button, please subscribe, press that bell button as well for future notifications of future videos, and as always, keep safe and I will see you soon.